You have the ring. And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. Now let's see how well you handle it.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and we got some new announcements over at Marvel. The big one, well, it's kind of big, Yule. It's not the biggest announcement, but Christopher Priest is returning to Marvel Comics, and he's going to be writing a new U.S.Agent miniseries with Stefano Landini, I believe, is on the art. I know you're an enormous Christopher Priest fan. I like Christopher Priest myself, not as much as you. I'm not very familiar with U.S.Agent. I know who the character is, generally speaking. You're here to sell me on this. Obviously, welcome to the channel, Yule Carter.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to sell you on this.
Well, I know you were just the man to do it. And I do want to say this. If you're a new viewer to the channel or you've been coming around regularly, but you haven't subscribed yet, it's time to take the leap of faith. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this content, because Yule is going to bring the heat today. Give us enormous thumbs down if he did not sell you on this, or if he's given bad information, because he could be doing that. I don't know. I don't know the character very well. And you will get an opportunity to subscribe to his channel, Fantastic Comics YouTube. There's a link in the video description. There's also going to be a nice big subscription button at the end of the video you can hit and go subscribe there. All right, Yule. So generally speaking, the way I understand U.S.Agent is he's kind of like a Captain America knockoff. I believe his name is John Walker. He's like Captain America with like his power sets, but his mental, like the way he sees the world or the way he uses his powers is a little bit different.
Right. So when Steve Rogers, Captain America, quit being the Captain America character, or I guess uniform, whatever, he just was like disillusioned with America, and they needed a stand-in, and that was John Walker. So he was a new Captain America, and he was a lot more violent. The stories were a little bit more Rambo-esque, and he was very, think of like Guy Gardner and how he was very into like fighting at first and not trying to solve the problem or even think it through at all. And that's what this character kind of was. And he was definitely a person that had a screw loose ultimately. And Steve Rogers had to come back and take over. And the U.S. government was still pretty interested in using this like really ridiculously strong gung-ho character or guy.
But he's a moronic patriot. He is patriotic, but he's a dipshit.
Yeah, I mean he's in it. Let's just say that he's totally into it, and he's also very violent, like I said. And so they made the U.S.Agent character. He still continued on and had like miniseries and was like forced on the West Coast Avengers, but these were books I didn't usually read too often. So my recollection of what happened with him pretty much ends until Maximum Security starts in the early 2000s.
All right, so the name of the story is going to be American Zealot, and normally that would be kind of a red flag for me that maybe this comic book creator is going to be taking liberties with the character, although this kind of fits in with it, or maybe try to push a political narrative or something like this. But I personally kind of trust Christopher Priest as a creator, that he's going to take what's there and what's left of U.S.Agent and kind of use him to his fullest and get his point across, but being true to the character while doing it.
That's what I've seen Christopher Priest do over the years. So recently, right now, I'm reading his Steel run from DC, which was in the 90s. I've read his Black Panther. He did an Inhuman story recently where he was kind of like filling us in on, you know, the character the relations within the family and stuff like that. And he has done a lot of other things, obviously. But these are the ones that I'm kind of like focused in on more and that I know a lot about. And he does definitely bring in politics and, you know, it's not so much that he just, you know, is bringing like, you know, social awareness into the comic. It just feels real with who the characters are. So it's not like just jammed in. It's a natural progression of story. And with a screw loose Captain America running around out there, we should have a pretty, you know, who's willing to do anything for his country. We should have a really cool story that will, you know, evoke images of things, but not necessarily anything that you're going to cry about.
You know, it was interesting. So I was reading Christopher Priest's Justice League run during Rebirth, which is criminally underrated. It was really good. in that last story arc, when you're talking about social commentary and doing it well, it's the lighthouse is the Justice League space tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Justice League are on the lighthouse. It actually somehow the orbit retrogrades and ends up crash landing in Africa in the middle of like a civil war. And the crux of the story, you know, there's a character called the Red Lion that feels like he's a Black Panther ripoff and stuff. But the crux of the story is the Justice League have this crisis of conscience. Should we intercede in this civil war? It's really none of our business. It's certainly not Justice League like level, like where they should be intervening or anything like that. But do they want to sit there and witness a civil war going on and innocent people dying? And I thought it was so well executed. He presented both sides well. The reasons that you should intercede, the reasons that you shouldn't intercede, and he let the reader make a conscious choice, but he also let the characters make a decision that kind of fell in line with who that character was and stayed true to him. So that's what I like about Christopher Priest. He can do social commentary. He does it very well. He doesn't beat you over the head with anything. He lets you come to your own decision, but he also lets the characters come to a natural progression or decision. Now, some characters might be in the middle where it could go either way, but so other characters are well fleshed out enough that you know which side they should take.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know where Batman's going to stand and where Superman's probably going to stand. It's all those other characters in between. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It wasn't those two. It was like John Stewart, right? And Wonder Woman, right? Yeah. And yeah, that was a really cool story. And I haven't read a lot of his Deathstroke that he had been doing because I'm not always into reading the villain. But from what I understand, because my buddy was telling me about it, that it was more about, you know, his relationship with his family and trying to kind of like right his wrongs all the while still being Deathstroke. And you know, it's like those are the things. Like he tries to elevate the character and move them a little ahead, all the while still keeping them true to who they are. And not just, you know, he wants to, this is where they say, leave the character how you found it, you know, maybe do some interesting things so that it can be built upon, but not necessarily that that's the way it has to be. And it's a sign of a good writer, or someone that actually respects what he's writing and the stuff that he's working on. And I think we're going to get that for this series. I just wish that the artist, I mean, Landini, from what I've seen, and I mean, it's okay. I mean, it will get the job done. But Christopher Priest is, like you said, criminally underrated. And I know a lot of people talk about him, but his sales aren't like, you know, other people. And this is a guy that has done such quality work for so very long now that we're actually lucky to still have him in comics, I feel. And he should have an artist, like whoever Marvel's big artist is that isn't signed up with something right now should be the artist right now on this book. And he's not getting it. And that's a shame. And that's Marvel for you.
It is, isn't it? It's too bad. It doesn't feel like they really, they certainly prioritize the writer on the book, and depending on the title, you get a rotating kind of group of artists and things like that. You know, kind of getting back into Priest, and I've seen some of Stefano Landini's work. He's done some Target Vader, done some Daredevil work with Charles Soule, and it's certainly serviceable, but I agree with you, it's not amazing. One of the things that's interesting about Priest, and I like the way that he writes and everything, but when I do read a Christopher Priest story, I know it's a Christopher Priest story without looking on the cover, just by the way that it's structured and the way that he transitions scenes. It almost feels like he took it out of CSI or something. When he transitions to a new location, he gives you a little bit of information. He definitely gives you the physical location and kind of that's how you're introduced to the scene. And he's really the only one that I see do that consistently in every single one of his stories. So I like that he has a style that's unique to himself. And when you read a Christopher Priest story, you can tell just by the way that it's structured who wrote it.
Yeah, you don't get a whole lot of those. You know how you have like the interior monologue in the caption box form. You don't get that a whole lot. I don't think he does it too recently. I know he doesn't do it in the 90s. He lets the characters speak, and the actions on the page actually tell the story. And I'm pretty happy with that, because it can get a little, you know, reading. It's like certain times, you know, a character or a certain book, you expect to hear their thoughts, but I don't want to read it all the time. And I appreciate that the stuff that is being said is actually from the characters' mouths, and the scene changes. When he would do it in Black Panther, he would have like a little quippy line, and it was very much like Frasier. And I can't remember which came first, whether it was Frasier or Black Panther. But if I remember correctly, there was one time where he was like, Frasier stole this. So it might have been his gimmick. And yes, when you see those little transition panels, it's kind of a Christopher Priest thing. And yeah, you come to look forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I like it when a writer has kind of a calling card. Like Chris Claremont and John Byrne kind of have their purple prose when they're transitioning scenes, and it feels like you're reading a novel for about a half a paragraph when they, the mountain was a blistering cold as the breeze. It just gives this wonderful description of the physical environment that the character is entering. I love that, but I don't love it when other people do it. They're the only ones that I think do it really well. So I like the character Christopher Priest has his own thing when he's transitioning scenes. I don't know that I want other people to use it, but I like that he does it, and he does it cool.
Yeah, if you can't add a wrinkle to it, don't use it. I think that's like, so a lot of times especially in like team books, you'll get like a little caption underneath the character as it's being introduced, and it's like usually like a quippy line. And like a lot of people use that. That's like one of those things that a lot of people use.
Like a Netflix superhero show, like the deadbeat superhero, and he just couldn't care less when he's on there.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, for that it might be okay, but
girl power superhero, and she's got a mohawk.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's a thing where you can see that other people have taken to that, and maybe there's been so many that do it, you don't know exactly who started that, but yeah, you definitely, as a writer, if you can distinguish yourself from other people, and that this is your writing style, and especially maybe he just doesn't sell to the masses. Maybe I was thinking back, like Priest he isn't like the biggest seller. Of course, he's not on the biggest books. U.S.Agent.
I'll tell you right now, when Black Panther was coming out, the movie, if they had reproduced those trades and put them out there fresh with new covers related to the movie, they would have sold much better and people would have been happier than the Ta-Nehisi Coates stuff, because it was much more in line with what the character on the screen. Aesthetically, the Ta-Nehisi Coates books were very similar, but the character that people were actually reading in the stories were much more in line with what Christopher Priest did. He did a lot of amazing things for Black Panther.
Yeah, that movie was kind of like, taking the two, and that's the thing about Hollywood. They can smash, like 10 years of comic books in one movie, and it's like, wow, we really got done with that quick. And
Hulk in about 40 minutes.
Right, exactly. I mean, we could, geez Louise. If you just would have like stuck with just the consulate Black Panther kind of story, it could have been, just like a one thought movie, and you could have so many more to come from that. And it could be a different thing that wasn't, like Disney-esque. But I didn't see it, so what do I know?
Well, I think you sold this pretty well. I'm a fan of Christopher Priest. Obviously, you're a bigger fan. Like, I know when people come into your shop, they're looking for a good book. You try to push them to the Christopher Priest section, right? Oh, yeah.
And just let you know, those Black Panthers were collected in the fatter editions. They just, a $35, $40 price tag is sometimes difficult for people to get into. But yeah, I'm totally a fan. I definitely let people know that this guy, you should pay attention to him.
Obviously, he is on Vampirella right now, which I think is for a Dynamite book is selling like gangbusters. So
yeah,
Vampirella is the kind of their big name character. So it's too bad he doesn't get more recognition. Definitely, this is going to be a mini series. It should be constrained to whatever Christopher Priest writes. It's not going to be related to Avengers or whatever event. So if you're looking for a Marvel comic written by a great writer that's kind of self-contained and you don't have to worry about what else is going on in Marvel, it's probably going to be a comic book for you. Might not have the most striking art, but the covers are going to be great. I think Marco Checchetto is going to be doing those, and it's definitely something worth checking out. And if you like U.S. Agent, you got to be excited. He's finally coming back for a little miniseries.
Yeah, and chances are everybody's going to see that Captain America and Falcon Disney show. And from what I understand, the U.S. agent's going to be in there. So another reason to read this.
Absolutely. Well, Yule, thank you so much for
Yeah.
bringing some information, selling us on the character and obviously the creative team. If you enjoyed what Yule brought to the table, he talks about comics on his own YouTube channel. There should be an icon to subscribe to his channel here in about 5 or 6 seconds. Definitely go and take that opportunity because he's a good dude. He's just a good dude.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.